speaker. Our next speaker is Joseph Alfaro. He's the owner of an organic farm in the South Valley, Orgánicos. As a New Mexico native, he went through the farmer-to-farmer training program where he learned about sustainable and organic farming. And he was fortunate enough to acquire land where they grow a variety of vegetables, which are sold through various farmers markets. So without further delay, Joseph.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me, and it's great meeting everybody. And I guess we're here just to really talk about the hemp movement, how we're all able to adapt to that. So here's just a little something that I have put together. It's a little tangible as far as what this is going to show you. I've been growing certified organic vegetables for over 10 years and been growing cannabis for over 20. So we're still learning at the end of the day how to really make it better and improve and use less energy, and we're trying to make all this happen. And really trying to improvise also as we're adapting to this movement. So how what do you want a cold frame for, and this is basically showing you, stuff from my farm and how we grow, and in the cold frames are mainly for year-round production. And we're thinking about transitioning into hemp. What is that going to mean, and what other things are we going to need for heat movement and air movement and lights and different stuff like that. So, and some of these things we want to learn is, some of the crop rotation and what type of things are we going to be getting ourselves into, and what are we really going to be using this stuff for, if we're growing the hemp for the oils or growing vegetables parallel with that production. This is just some basic planting plan for some of the vegetables that we grow, and that's, kind of really knowing when we're planting them and that timeline, and when we're going to expect to have the vegetables, so we can always count on that and always having a consistent rotation happening on the farm. So that kind of give you a little basic, I don't know if you can really see it, but it kind of really gives you an opportunity to start to compile this information as you're moving forward and really trying to fine-tune your farm plan. Cover crop selections, I know there's a lot of stuff from Amigo Bob and different things that we want to use for our soils, but mainly I like to focus on is natural fertility and our NPK for our soils, and how we're able to bring that type of nutrition for our soils in some of your clover, or let's see what I do here. Oh, I broke it. Let's see how I go right here. I won't use that little thing no more. But anyhow, some of these clovers and, vetch, rice, oats, different things that we can grow to bring in that fertility for our soils in a natural way. And so this is some of my crop selections that I'm using for my soils. Some of these cold frames, if you're in a higher climate, if we have snow, or how we want to adapt those cold frames to that type of environment. So it's going to vary on your construction and your air movement through those various regions. Yeah, so see, these are some of the different types. I mean, you can use one that's just a high tunnel, the one there in the middle, or something small, This is something you can make on your own through some of the benders that, we have at the farm, that we can just bend some of these hoops on these greenhouses and make our own. So, you could either buy something or improvise in a certain level to still accommodate what you guys are trying to grow. I tried a lot of stuff with PVC. Maybe that's not the best way to roll. So, always putting the money where it's got to be and doing it right the first time. So don't sound good with that. Here's that bender I was talking to you guys about, how we're able to use top rail posts for chain link fence and really bend your own. You know, you can get a good amount of hemp plants inside these small tunnels that are strong, and it's a way of improvising and still really getting to a certain scale with these. So these are real great, something you can do yourself for people who are trying to look to do your own. Different type of wind bracings for different areas, like that snow, that's at my house here with all the snow on there. And then really thinking about when you're gonna do the land, where you're gonna be planting, be aware of what's around us, if we're in some type of direct contamination. And I'm gonna try to go through this a little bit quicker because there's quite a bit here, but give you guys a touch on a little bit of everything. Just don't want to overkill you guys here. Laying out the cold frame, using all these different Pythagorean theorem. I couldn't even say that word for a long time, but that's that right there for you that can square off that greenhouse. Try that one. Or you could do it the way I do it. Using the eagle eye. That usually works pretty good. Using your square, getting your corners, and gives you a good baseline to run for. And then really offsetting your greenhouses as if they are an incline, not necessarily, but it's it's something that you can implement if you're doing it. Yeah, not following procedures really, it's like when we're putting up the greenhouses, we really want to put them up perfect, straight, and we want them to look good. So making sure everything is straight, that's really we want to get a good, strong greenhouse. Some of the tools that we use to hit these tools in, some of the bracings for those cold frames, that's these guys are doing there is those are the post drivers for the homemade one and for something a little bit bigger if you want to go a little bit bigger. Some other techniques you can use with the pounder or build you something that you can just lay it out right away, a little template. So these kind of things save you a lot of time on getting it done. Or you could be like this guy and use a electric tool there, air tool. Making sure using all the proper tools on your lines and lining everything up. Make sure everything's gonna go together as you want it to fit when you're putting it together. Yeah, for sure, making sure you have all the pieces while you're doing it. Placing all your bows, putting them all together after all your ground pieces are put in. So this wouldn't be a permanent structure. You could take it out and relocate them if you have to. This is another greenhouse we put together up in San Felipe, Pueblo, and that's one of your high tunnels. And some of these high tunnels, for those of you that are farming, you can qualify through an NRCS equip program that allows you to get some of these greenhouses through some of that proper funding that they have. So if you're farming and you're already doing that type of work, NRCS equip is the one that we want to look at to try to get some of these greenhouses and take advantage of those fundings while they're still available. Can't get help from a scarecrow, so make sure you get some good help when you're putting up these greenhouses for sure. That was one of our helpers. There we are putting them up. We want to make sure that they're running straight, coming across, make sure we have a strong structure. Yeah, and I noticed here on the left, here you see we had those clamps out of there. And that's just putting the clamp and putting the screw and just the way the instructions tell you to do it. But that's from the wind has really bent that stuff up, and know that you know, Mother Nature's pretty strong. Bless you. Hey, and then also, you know, just going ahead and putting a bolt straight through and saving on some of those other unneeded straps or whatnot. Outer foundations, I mean, there's different ways of putting this board, you know, and improvising. If we don't have that board, we could always use other techniques like just putting the plastic straight into the ground, and that has also been very effective. Like this greenhouse here at our farm, you know, we got the sides here going straight into the ground without any of that wood. So, you know, we're saving on the, you know, if there was wood, it's protecting the wood, and some of these little techniques are going to help you go a little bit longer ways. But see, that's a good stretch on that greenhouse. So there's another greenhouse of inside not having the wood, how the plastic's just straight down, and we can just, without having to use that foundation of wood. Just another example of having the roll-up sides. We could always put screening to protect your crops from any kind of, you know, pests or mice or anything. I've had a bear in my greenhouse, so I don't know if screen will keep them out, but you know, that's the idea there. Roll-up sides, it's always option to put a roll-up sides for that air movement. I know in our farm we have different greenhouses that are a little bit different of what they're doing, and how the air movement is a little bit different for each crop, and how we're able to really adjust that movement from these roll-up sides. Here, if it's manual or we have a good tool, a crank that can roll that up. So we're always improvising on the farm for sure. Another roll-up sides, you know, here you can put the straps. Here's in the greenhouse, you know, this is just vegetables getting planted, but you know how we're able to transition this into growing hemp, and what type of equipment we'll need to make that transition, and as people are getting closer to wanting to grow hemp. End wall designs, you know, everything's going to be different. If you're going to just have it big for a tractor to go in, or maybe we have a water wall or something there, that all those different designs are going to vary for what you're going to do, if it's hemp or cannabis or vegetables, and then really what the budget entails also. Here's some of the end walls, how we're able to clamp them to the ground by, you know, being able to put these anchors or just rebar straight into the ground. Works also. Some different types of end walls. You can see this structure is all metal. Of course, all the metal instead of wood is going to last a lot longer. But then again, what does our budget look like? These have just some roll-up windows in the front. Nothing too special on those. And there's the airflow, kind of show you different designs of the airflow, if you know, if it's gonna be a blower or if it's just free air allowing it to pass through. There's some more door options. Like I said, if you're gonna move tractors in and out, heavy equipment, you know, we want to put the proper doors for those greenhouses. Some of the straps that we put when we're doing the end wall construction, you know, some of these straps, you know, we improvise at just being able to connect them and make sure that they're able to stay there. More construction, you can see we're going straight into the ground with the rebar. That's one way there, another way. And then, you know, a lot of this plastic is going on by this wiggle wire up here. So that wiggle wire track has really been beneficial in how that works. You know, when you're skidding the cold frame, you can see this one has the wiggle wire and the plastic just runs right on top of it. It's been able to keep the wood structure lasting. I think that's already about 7 years on that wood. So it's still doing pretty good. Skinning the cold frames, you know, you want to be able to allow the plastic to sit out there, roll it out, and let it warm up before you do the stretching on it. Cutting off excess plastic, make sure you're doing it good. Pulling the plastic over when you guys are doing the plastic on these big greenhouses. You guys done that? I can do it with 2 girls, so we're able to get it done on the farm. Yeah, here's some of the greenhouses, and there's the wiggle wire, you know, perfect example of how the wood's able to stay perfect. Here's a greenhouse that's stretched, that hasn't been through those processes of warming it up and stretching it right. It's kind of saggy. Your greenhouse gets weaker from the wind when it's saggy like that. And that's from cutting the plastic too short. You know, when we get that wind, we get a lot of pull from the plastic, and we want to make sure we leave room on the plastic. Proper stretching. And you know, here's some of these drip line. All our farm is on drip tape, and that's what this one is here, is a drip line that the water comes out of. And I use that to strap down the greenhouses when it gets, you know, windy. And, you know, it's another way of just improvising when we're doing this, and by using some of this stuff we're going to throw away. Yeah, so there's 3 times I put it in thirds all the way down the greenhouses. Once a cold frame is built, what are we going to do? We're going to grow cannabis. That's for sure. But, you know, to know what's in your soils, you know, I always recommend maybe getting a soil sample done on your soil, so we see what's inside the soil and what your NPK levels are. So Colorado State's one place to get that done. Here's prepping beds in the greenhouses. Looks like that's going to be some cover crops. More vegetables, crop selection. You know, I'm always basically using my greenhouses for growing vegetables in the wintertime. So being able to extend that extension and grow in the winter in there. And in the summer, let them rest and grow cover crops unless we're going to be growing hemp. So those are the type of decisions that we want to make moving forward as the hemp is starting to grow. Cold weather crops, these are some of the stuff I've grown. You know, I see some of my beds are robust with a lot of the clovers and some of that nitrogen legumes growing there. Radishes, carrots, salad turnip, spinach, bok choy, salad mixes. We are certified organic, so we want to be able to provide the best, highest quality, best tasting vegetables we can. Some dill, greens, hooping beds, you know, making sure that we're protecting our assets when, you know, it does get cold on those cold nights, and using the proper roll cover. And I go with the 1.5 mil that has been really good and long lasting. So covering and uncovering beds, I think it's always important to do that when you're covering and uncovering the beds on the roll cover. Everyone's doing it the same way, same time, same place. So it lasts a lot longer that way. I think there, you know, knowing what the temperatures are. You know, you could spend money and get some of this digital stuff and everything, but it doesn't really last too long. Some of your basic thermometers really give you a pretty good, accurate temperature. So when we're exposing those vegetables, we're not freezing. Yeah, there's that covering and uncovering, left to right. And then so when we cover, we're right to left. Some other ways of planting. This is one of the seeders I use, a 4-point seeder. You can see the salad that's grown is sort of in those rows. It has different seed spacing that you can change it for different types of seeds. And there's other seeders that, you could do other bigger seeds like peas or maybe some corn, but these are mainly for your finer seed like salad, turnips, radish, stuff like that. Some of your smaller brassicas. Yeah, here's some spinach, some more your top soy brassica, and weeding. I mean, look that's the spinach up there. So, I mean, and your plan is, when you're doing your farm plan is that weeding is a must, and it has to take place. Pest control, we use, OMRI listed products, meaning it's going to be something safe for our soils and for our vegetables. And the OMRI pyrethrum has really been a really good insecticide for us. Making it your own, and that's kind of some of the ways I have made it my own by some, using that Gorilla Tape clear for plastic. That stuff works really good for repairing plastic. Then buying it, the creative venting, the strapping on the drip tapes for the greenhouses. And that's kind of how I've been able to improvise and get a little bit out of what I work on the farm and materials. So, hey, thanks you guys, and I know it was a little bit long, but I hope you guys appreciate that, and yeah, maybe you guys come check out our farm. Thank you. I'm sorry? On the address is 1611 5 Points, South Valley. That's Southwest 87105. Come see us. Anybody have any questions? Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Well, the rated on it is about 4 years. Although we've put the plastic on and it's lasted a day, depending on Mother Nature is going to treat us well or not. So, I mean, I've gotten a little bit longer to 6 years, and I think some of these ways of improvising and being able to follow some of these procedures will get you a little bit longer on your plastic. So, depending on how you take care of it, and sometimes it is what it is sometimes. Yeah. You're welcome. Any more questions? Anybody back there? Yeah, I can share this slide. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for having me.